there has to be a line, right? There has to be a line where you tell the umpires union, enough is enough. We cannot stand this anymore.
FT. Ken, I don't know if I'm sure you caught at least a little bit of that conversation. The part I wanted to bring right up to you is the fact that the Marlins now fall to 4-13. And it's one thing to be bad. It's another to option one of your best pitchers. So I'm curious about your take on the Marlins and what you saw from Max Meyer, because I'm sorry, optioning a guy after 3 starts to save innings makes no sense.
Well, I wrote about this today, and it was indeed a curious move. No one would dispute that. And I talked to the general manager, Peter Bendix, and he explained what they were doing and why they were doing it. Now, the first thing to remember is Max Meyer, this is his first season since a Tommy John surgery in August 2022. So he was never going to spend the entire season in the majors. He was never going to get past a certain innings level. We don't know what that level is. The Marlins don't even know what it is, but he was going to be handled with care. The other thing that Bendix noted was that, and this will shock you, and you might laugh at it, but the Marlins currently believe they have 6 healthy starting pitchers with Meyer, if you include him. 7 once Braxton Garrett returns, and he's close. He's experiencing a bit of a dead arm in his rehab. But they felt they had to do something, that something had to give, and that was the reason ultimately they had to make a choice here. Now, the part I question in my article is why this guy? He's got 2 of your 3 wins. His last start, he beat the Braves, and you're sending him out? You could easily put A.J. Puck back in the bullpen. He hasn't really succeeded as a starter, and demote one of your relievers. It's not like your bullpen's so great. Or you could take Ryan Weathers, who admittedly has pitched well, but has an option left, and you could send him to the minors. The problem I had with this was the timing. If you want to do this at some point, understood. He has to save innings, and he has to be handled with care. He's a young guy, and coming off the Tommy John, we all understand that. But why do it now when you have a team in a state of urgency, needing every win it can get? He is your stopper, and you're telling him goodbye? That part of it made no sense. Everything else I understood. I just thought they had other choices that they could have made.
When you talked to Peter, did he say, like, he knew this could be something that's coming down the road? Like, did they give Max lay out the plan for this?
Skip Schumacher told reporters yesterday that they had told Max Meyer when he made the team. And remember, he only made the team because of injuries to Edward Cabrera and Yuri Perez and Braxton Garrett. So they told him at that point, listen, this is not going to be all year. You have to understand that. And I'm sure he does understand that. He understands where he is in his career and with the post-surgery recovery program. But at the same time, when you tell a kid, I don't care who he is and I don't care where he's playing, that yeah, you had this amazing success. The Braves, you shut them down, even though they're maybe the most powerful lineup in the game. But we're going to send you out now. We're not going to wait any longer. That is where perhaps the disconnect comes in. And we haven't heard from Max Meyer on it. I don't expect him to be anything but diplomatic. But my gosh, he had to be disappointed.
One more on this. Travis Sawchik brought up the service time. He was like, Max Meyer stands at 1 year, 82 days, 172 days required for a full year of service. Super 2 5-year average around 2 years, 125 days. So I think we can begin to map out development timelines for Max Meyer.
He wasn't getting to 2 years. He wasn't getting to 2 years, 125. If he had a full year this year, he was getting to 2 years, 82. That's short of Super 2. So this wasn't a case of service time manipulation with regard to the Super 2. It could conceivably be a case down the line of service time manipulation if he doesn't get back to the majors and be in the majors. I think it's about half the rest of the way. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they could manipulate it that way, save themselves a year of control. But I don't expect them to do that. I don't know that this was about service time as much as it was about the decision to preserve innings and where they are as a staff. Ultimately, if he's down for most of the year, then, yeah, you can make the case it's a service time thing. And let's face it, if you're the Marlins and you're out of it, you might say, maybe we should keep him down the rest of the year. That's a different story. And if that happens, then we have a service time question. But at this point in time, there is not that situation.
Man, Ken, you just make baseball come alive.
You guys are hot from the weekend. We know.
I'm good.
Well,
all right.
This is the star of Fox Saturday. I don't know if you heard.
No doubt. No, every inning. He could add. He added every inning. Trust me. Tommy Pham signed with the White Sox, and you were you kind of hinted at this to me, and I kept my mouth shut this weekend. We were driving to the airport. What does it bring to the White Sox, and why did it take so long? And I mean, is this the only offer Tommy Pham had? Because why? I mean, they're 2-14. Why would Tommy Pham, other than playing time, and I guess is the main thing for him, but why would he want to join them if he had other offers from other teams?
He had offers earlier, but he didn't like those offers. And what happened was Tommy Pham viewed himself coming off the season he had last year, where I believe it was 1.9 F4, which is a pretty good season. He believed that he was worth a certain amount of money. He had a better season than some free agents who signed for a lot more. And it was difficult for him. He's a prideful guy. It was difficult for him to come to the realization that it wasn't happening. In my opinion on why it wasn't happening was more because of his age, which is 36, than anything that might have happened off the field in the past. I wrote a story with Will Salmon of The Athletic last year about how Tommy Pham actually is quite a popular teammate, how guys really like him. We quoted Francisco Lindor, others with the Mets at that time, others with the Diamondbacks. So I don't know that it's that. I know that's the knee-jerk reaction. Tommy Pham's this. No, he's not all that. But he had expectations. And when those expectations weren't met, he had a hard time accepting that. And I can understand that. At the same time, at some point, reality sets in and you have to accept the kind of offer that you weren't accepting earlier, and that's where he is. And yes, the White Sox with their injuries will give him a chance to play. He gets a $500,000 bonus if he's traded. I'm sure that's part of the thinking here. And let's face it, guys, this player last year helped the Diamondbacks get to the World Series and was pretty darn good in the World Series. So he is a guy that still has some baseball left in him, I believe. And he, I'm sure, is quite eager to show that with the White Sox.
By the way, I played with Tommy Pham. He was awesome. I mean, he was super young when he came up, but I still, to this day, I mean, I think he's pretty awesome at what he does. I mean, you're right. He has his thoughts and he has his things, and we all have our quirks, but he sticks by it. He works his ass off, and he's a hell of a player. And he can change. I think if you listen to some guys last year, he changed the mentality of teams with the way he approached every at bat.
He did.
And I mean, you saw what the Mets said about him. He changed a lot of their work ethic. He's like, we thought we were working hard until we saw what Tommy Pham did, and whoa, we changed our complete game around.
Exactly, AJ. And that's really important to remember. And that's why we wrote that story last year, because I'll tell you how it came about, too. This is interesting. So one day I'm at Citi Field, and they had just traded Tommy Pham. The Mets had. And Eric Hinsky, their assistant hitting coach, we were just talking. And he goes, man, that guy was awesome. I'm like, really? He goes, yes, ask Lindor about him. So I went to Lindor and said, hey, what about him? And AJ, he said exactly what you just described, that he made Lindor work harder. He showed Lindor how to work in some respects, and other Mets as well. So this notion that he's a bad guy, all players should be such bad guys.
Yeah, he is awesome. I would agree with everything that AJ said and everything that you wrote. Has Jack Leiter worked on everything that the org wants him to work on? The reason he hasn't gotten called up before this is because, his issues with finding the strike zone consistently. Has he worked on all those things, or is it just we got a lot of dudes on the IL right now, we need you?
Well, it's always a little bit of both, right, Eric? But he has worked on some mechanical things. They really redid him last year. And then he came back to camp this year. They had to kind of tweak it again. But he is a kid that has worked on some things that, in theory, should improve his control. And I haven't really studied his minor league numbers in great depth, but they would not be recalling him if they did not believe he was ready. Chris Young is their GM. He's a former pitcher himself. He is quite a good GM. He won the World Series last year, but if there's any one area in which he has more expertise, it would be on the pitching end of it. So they're excited about this, I'm sure, and they feel he is ready. who that is.
I don't know
Maybe
either.
that's one of AJ's friends calling him. I don't know. But anyway,
I don't have any friends though, so who would be calling
Oh,
me?
stop.
this is
He's about to
this
go
is
to
a
a golf
move that
tournament.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch him pitch Thursday against the Tigers. It's going to be cool.
I like it. Last one for me. So I listen to Fair Territory, of course. It's up there now if anyone wants to grab it. And it's pretty evergreen this week, so it's not like anything on there, is dated at the moment. The part that stood out that I'd like to go back and forth on for a moment is Angel Hernandez. So I know you addressed it. We took 10 minutes on this yesterday. My thought is, what is the line for a league or a person of authority to have to intervene? Kratz mentioned how it wasn't just missing calls. It was the worst missed call on the width of the strike zone, and it was clearly off. To me, it felt intentional because you literally have to turn your head this way to look at how far wide that pitch was, and everyone knew what was going on. So I'm wondering, does he have to go a whole inning where he calls every ball a strike and every strike a ball, and then someone says something? You know what I'm saying? What is the line when suddenly, finally, someone will step in? Because the league has plenty of authority on many other fronts. They can't even comment on it. It's that ooh, we can't touch this.
Scott, it's an excellent question. And I don't know the answer to that. And that's something really we should pose to the league if they'd ever come on here, which I don't imagine they would. But there has to be a line, right? There has to be a line where you tell the umpires union, enough is enough. We cannot stand this anymore. Now, if you remember, Angel Hernandez sued Major League Baseball. He wanted better postseason assignments. And it came out during that proceeding that they really don't like Angel Hernandez very much. They didn't think of him very highly as an umpire. And yet, nothing has happened. I will say one interesting thing, guys. One thing that I learned in the last couple of days. I texted an umpire and said to him, hey, I basically said, Scott, where is your line? Why aren't you guys embarrassed by this? And I know to a certain degree, umpires are going to close ranks, but I thought this was so exceptional, and not in a good way, but so out there that maybe I would get a reaction. Because let's face it, if it was somebody in my profession that I thought was that incompetent, at least at periods of time, I'd have a problem with it. This umpire did not go there. He said, frankly, we all make mistakes. The scrutiny on Angel is too much. Now, he didn't excuse Friday. He agreed that it was not good at all, what happened in that at-bat with Wyatt Langford. But he said, and this surprised me, the umpires love Angel Hernandez. They think he is just a quality human being, a great guy. I don't want people hanging up and turning off their computers right now while watching this. But this is how they feel about him. And Ted Barrett, retired umpire, posted something on Instagram the other day. You can go look at it. And his words of praise for Angel, this was before the Friday night fiasco. I was kind of stunned. And I was kind of stunned to hear from the other umpires. So it's not like they're down on him. They think he does take his job seriously. They think that there's unfair scrutiny on him as opposed to others because he's such a walking meme, so to speak. Now, I would disagree. I would think there's enough evidence here. We've all seen it over the years to think that Angel Hernandez probably doesn't belong in this group anymore. But again, that was the reaction I got, and I was surprised to get it.
I mean, Ken, listen, when another umpire misses a call by 7 inches off the plate, then we'll stop talking about Angel Hernandez and we'll say, man, all the umpires are in this together. Yeah, I mean, listen, I liked Angel as a guy too. Don't get me wrong. Like Kratz and I had this conversation, was it yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it. Like Angel, when you see him, is the nicest guy. Hey, brother, how are you? You know, the nicest guy in the world. And then he messes up. And you're like, Angel, like, we kind of missed that one. He's like, yeah, I know, but it's okay. It's only 1 strike out of 3. And you're like, no, dude, like, that's still it's my at-bat.
That's not good.
I like.
You know, this is my at-bat you're taking out of my hands. And so, I mean, listen, I agree. Angel's a nice guy. And I've talked to Angel off the field now, especially doing our job. You run into the umpires. Nice conversations with them. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm judged on my performance. It is. I'm judged on my performance. He should be judged on his, and all these guys should be. And
I totally agree, AJ. I don't
know.
Trying to excuse anything, okay? I'm just saying the reaction I got was not the reaction I expected when I contacted that particular umpire, who, by the way, did not want to go on the record because he knows any umpire who goes on the record defending Angel Hernandez is going to be getting the scarlet letter as well. So I understood it. I understood the whole thing. And no, I'm with you 100% that, hey, it's about performance, especially at the highest level of the sport. And he's been a below average performer for too long.
Was his name Joe West, the umpire?
His name was not.
Not
I will not play eeny, meeny, miny, mo with you,
no.
but his name is not Joe.
But in fairness, you're not going to get an owner to really speak about the A's situation either. You know, John Fisher is embarrassing to the sport. No one talks about it in that group. His peers don't talk about it publicly for a reason. It's a zero-sum game. So, thanks, Ken. We're trying to solve problems here. I don't know if we did, but we'll keep trying. So we'll catch you on Fair Territory Thursday.
AJ tried to solve a problem Saturday because he believed apparently that a kid broadcasting his first major league game, I shouldn't even call him a kid. Connor Onion is no kid. He's a pro. AJ basically accused him of not being able to read in his first major league broadcast.
That is not what happened. That is
That
not.
is
You're such a bully.
That is not at all what was said. Now, I did accuse him of not eating the ballpark food because Houston hooked us up with all kinds of food. I mean, they hooked us up with like so much food.
AJ had like 3 courses.
Dude, I had a whole meal during it. They gave us this hot dog thing. It was 4 hot dogs and 1 bun. So good. And then they gave us this pulled pork thingy that was so good.
He's probably nervous. He's going to have like a stomach problem during his first broadcast.
Then he brought us these nacho thingies that were so – oh, man.
I didn't eat.
He wouldn't even touch it.
I was the same way.
So let me before Ken gets off and runs away like he did on Friday when I wasn't on. Okay. So he said something about someone was Voldemort from Harry Potter.
That's right.
And I don't know who – I forget who he was talking about. Oh, he's talking about Adolis Garcia. He's Voldemort from Harry Potter.
In Houston.
And he looks at me and goes, have you ever seen the Harry Potter movies? And I said, no, Connor, unlike you, I read the books. Not taking a shot at him not being able to read. It was more of he watched the movie because he's of the movie generation. I was of the book generation.
How did you know he did not read the books?
Because I know he didn't, because he's a movie generation kid, and I was right.
Well, anyway, Scott, at one point, I'll let you guys go. I know you don't want to hear this, but at one point I had to jump on and correct the record and say that Connor Onion does indeed know how to
read. How do you know that for sure? Did you see him reading books?
Have you seen him
read? I'm pretty confident on that one, AJ. I'm pretty confident.
Okay.
And then they did ask me, and someone said something about me, and I said, well, I've never read a Ken Rosenthal article in my life, so maybe I can.
That did go out on the airwaves, yes.
Yes. AJ's only in it for the Harry Potter books.
That's right. They were great back in the day.
Good. Well, I can't wait for chapter 2, whenever that is. We are all anxiously awaiting the reconvening of Ken
and thank you, Ken, for the ride to the airport, and thank you, because otherwise I wouldn't have made it.
Well, we had an issue there, but yeah,
we heard all about that too. So nothing gets held back on this show. It's 2 hours every day. Ken, thank you. We'll see you on Fair Territory on Thursday.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.